Who do you think is the greatest Super Bowl team?
We're a little biased here.
And we got six.
Probably.
6 in 20 years.
Well, you know, that's it. That's the record.
Yeah, it's not 4 touchdowns in 66, but... On today's episode, legendary actor, starring in 2 of the greatest sitcoms of all time, Ed O'Neill.
Hold that thought.
We're covering Super Bowl IX, Pittsburg Steelers versus the Minnesota Vikings.
This was not too long after I got cut,
Yeah.
so I was still following things pretty closely.
How mean was Mean Joe Green?
Mean as hell. My whole idea was knock the shit out of you and I'll progress. Instead of tackling him, I would hit him with a forearm.
Oh, yeah.
It was like kamikaze football.
You would have been a great special teamer.
Probably.
A good doggy, bad doggy training system.
Who's the coolest cameo you guys ever had?
Oh my God, that's impossible.
Impossible.
We had Lawrence Taylor, Kenny Stabler, Bubba Smith. We had a thing where we come up against each other. It was a goal line stand. And when we rehearsed it, he couldn't pull back. It was like getting in with an actual grizzly bear. And finally I went to the guys and I said, hey, this ain't gonna work. And Chris Farley, I knew Chris.
You remember that?
Any Farley stories?
I'll tell you the greatest Farley story you'll ever hear in your life.
Games with Names is a production of iHeartRadio. Welcome to Games with Names. I'm Julian Edelman. That's Kyler. And we are on the search to find the greatest game of all time. Jack's back in North Carolina today. He's still stat correcting, though, folks.
Yeah, he's blowing up the phone.
Yeah,
He's with us.
He blowing it up. On today's episode, we're covering Super Bowl IX, the Pittsburg Steelers versus the Minnesota Purple People Eater Vikings defensive line, with former Steeler and legendary actor, star of FX's Clipped, Ed O'Neill. On this episode, we get into talking old Polk High football. You guys
4
know.
touchdowns, 1966.
4 in one game.
In one game.
City championship.
City.
What it was like starring in 2 of the greatest sitcoms of all time. We get into talking Steelers. He had an inside perspective. I mean, he was on Chuck Noll's first Steelers team and training camp.
Mean Joe Green's first year, too.
Mean Joe Green. We ask him, is Mean Joe Green that mean?
You get the answer.
Tune in and you'll know.
Yeah.
And then we wrap it up with hitting the old hotline. Great episode. Look forward to having you guys listen. Let's go. January 15th, 1975. Tulane Stadium, New Orleans, Louisiana.
Steel Curtain versus the Purple People Leaders for all the marbles.
On a cold, wet afternoon in the Big Easy, a dynasty is born before our eyes. This is Super Bowl IX.
That was great.
Welcome to Games with Names. We have a very special guest, an idol of not just me, my father, anyone who's over 30. Their parents all grew up with him in our household. And then he went on to go on and do another crazy sitcom that took over. And it was like the best sitcom, modern day, Married with Children. We have Ed O'Neill. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. My pleasure, Julian.
We got Kyler over here. We got Leah.
And Jackson.
Hi. Leah, I didn't meet you, actually.
And today we are looking at Super Bowl IX, the Pittsburg Steelers versus the Minnesota Vikings, a classic game. Now, why do you like this game?
I like all the Super Bowls.
Yeah.
You know, and this was not too long after I got cut.
Yeah.
So I was still following things pretty closely. And, you know, I knew all about Franco Harris and those guys because they came a year after I got cut. And when I got cut, I said I got cut. I had a cup of coffee with them, basically.
Yeah.
That's about it. But, so I was still, you know, sitting in the bar with my buddies watching these games.
Yeah.
And glad I wasn't playing at that point.
Yeah, but you had to be vested because you got drafted with Mean Joe Green. You got drafted with a lot of these Pro Football Hall of Famers. And so you got to enjoy, it was Chuck Noll's first year, right?
It was Noll's first year.
And so you got to, you had his first training camp. And you got to know these people, so you get vested because you have relationships with these guys, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it was, it was very intense. You've been to those camps. I mean, I didn't make a whole lot of friends. It was
Job.
yes,
Try to make the team.
but it was fun. I actually enjoyed it.
Yeah.
As opposed to college. I mean, I don't know why you would think it would be the opposite, but I actually enjoyed the training down there.
Yeah. What people don't realize, because I was a very similar situation as you. You were a priority free agent, so they signed you.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was a 7th round draft pick, which is the last round of our draft, which some would argue it's better to be a free agent because you get 2 years contract instead of locking you in for a third.
And you were a quarterback.
I was a quarterback.
Yeah.
But the mental aspect when you're on the team and there's 90 guys, they got to cut it down to 53.
Yeah.
And did you used to play the numbers game? You're sitting in training camp. Well, they're going to keep this guy. They're going to keep that guy.
Yeah. I had a situation where, I don't know if yours was the same as ours, but the Steelers, they would put a board up, and if your name wasn't on it, you were cut.
Oh.
So it's kind of a nice way to do it. Your name, you don't see your name as this guy got cut. People don't know you. They don't even know you got cut.
Ed, it's completely changed nowadays.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you'll be sitting in a locker room, and they have this guy who everyone calls the Turk. It's probably like he's like an offensive assistant of another assistant. Yeah. And he comes up to your locker and he taps on your shoulder and he says, "Hey, head coach wants to see you. Bring your playbook."
Oh no, I had that.
Oh,
see, they went through when it started out.
Okay.
They had so many guys.
Yeah.
That they cut the way I just mentioned. But then if you got along some, then it turned into, by the way, Coach Snow would like to see you in his office. I'd bring your playbook. That's what happened to me.
Jeez.
Yeah. So, but then you know how nice they are to you when you go in there.
We're going a different route. You're just not in the plan.
Yeah. Well, with me, it was, you never played outside linebacker, and you're trying to make the team and learn the position at the same time. That's hard to do. I said, yeah. He said, well, I think I remember it as you can go to the Eagles if you want to, and they'll give you a good look. We'll rent a car for you. You can drive down the PA Pike. But I need to know right now. And I don't know what happened to my thinking. It was like, you're going to what? I want to drive a car to Philadelphia? No. I said, I'm done. I'm finished. Thanks a lot.
Wow.
That was it. But I was getting sick of it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I played for 2 colleges. I had some knee problems. And I don't know what it was. I didn't even like Coach as much. I liked Noel. He was I didn't get to know him much, but he was a real gentleman, and I thought he was a nice guy. He was. But I had coaches in college I didn't like at all.
Yeah.
In high school, too. I had to start thinking maybe it was my fault. It was to that point.
Gee.
But I was finished. I said, he said, well, what are you going to do? I said, I don't know, but not this. And then I remember when I went to my back to the dorm room, I had a roommate. His name was Clarence Oliver, San Diego State. He made the team as a defensive back. And I think he only played 1 year. I think he broke his back.
Ooh.
But he made it. But I went in, and he was like, what happened? I said, what do you think? So I was packing up, and the guy came in. They said, well, the car's out there. Where do you want to go? And I said, Pittsburgh. I'm not from Pittsburgh. And but I knew a friend in Pittsburgh. So I said, no, I'm going to Pittsburgh. And he says, okay, we'll drive you to Pittsburgh. It's Latrobe, PA. So he said, we'll swing by the stadium on the way out because your cleats are there in the locker. And we got a lot of swag for you. We got great jerseys and T-shirts and hats and shorts. And I said, I don't want any of that shit. He said, you don't want it's good stuff. I don't want it. Am I going to wear it? I'm not wearing it. I don't want the cleats either. I'm not going to use them anymore. So he took me into Pittsburgh, and I had this rudimentary idea of where my friend lived. So I didn't want to go home.
Yeah.
Was what it was. So
Why didn't you want to go home?
That was all screwed up. I thought, I don't want to go home and have to explain this.
100%.
So I said, it was still in the summertime. So I directed him up a street, and I saw a bar. It was a local bar with the door open. In the summertime, the door's no air, the door was open. I said, right here. My friend lives right around that bar. Just drop me off here. You sure? They kind of said, yeah, give me the bag. Adios. So I went in the bar, and it was like 2:00 in the afternoon, and there were like a couple of, locals. It was a local joint.
Yeah.
So I walk in. I'm 23 years old. They don't know me. I'm a stranger in this neighborhood, and they're looking like, "What's this kid?" I order a beer, and they got the TV up high, on the wall, and we're watching it, and the news comes on, and they're showing Armstrong walking on the moon.
Wow.
That's when I got cut. And I'm thinking, well, somebody had a good day. He had the golf club, right?
Yeah.
And I'm watching it. And then they went to the sports. And of course, it's Pittsburgh. So they go, linebacker Ed O'Neill released today from the Steelers. And there's my picture. And these guys are in the bar. And they look. They go, "You're Ed O'Neill." I said, Yeah. And they said, "Your money's no good here." Now they're all buying me drinks. I end up at 3:00 in the morning in some car with some girl with a state hoopy pulling me over,
Yeah.
I don't even know my name at this point. And the guy looks in, and I think I had my shirt off, and, that was almost naked.
Yeah.
And I'm driving, though. And he says, I had my driver's license. He said, "Did you get cut today from Pittsburgh?" I said, "Yep." He said, "Miss, can you drive?" She said, "Yeah." He's just driving around. And he said, "Can you drive this guy home?" And she said, "I'll take him." He says he knows somebody. And he said, letting him go. Because it was Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh Steelers, they love them Steelers.
Even if you got cut, it doesn't make any difference.
You're still
right?
part of the team. You're
know.
still part of the team.
Anyway, that's I don't think I've told that story ever.
So you were a defensive lineman in college?
I played
Handsome Joker. Look at
middle
him.
guard on defense.
Okay.
And I played defensive end, and I played tight end in college.
Okay.
I just went around like that.
So what was you said that you mentioned you were playing outside linebacker in Steelers camp. What was
Well, that's
that?
all you got. That's all they had for me. I couldn't be a cornerback. I wasn't quick enough. I mean, I ran a 4.740
Wow.
in '68. That's my number though. But I was
That's fast.
I was about 230,
4.7,
4.7. Then
230. That's like a 260 guy running 4.6 now.
probably, and then I didn't.
But you guys
know-
didn't train for it. Like that
No.
was that was fast then.
I don't know.
You
about
only had a couple 4.4 guys on the team.
Well, when I did, I narrated the thing on Peyton Manning. That timeline, and it was so nicely written. I was very impressed with it. And this was not long ago, and I was struck by the fact that he was coached, and you were too, right? Your dad was a coach.
My dad was a coach.
And I was never coached. I don't think I was really ever coached. We just played pickup ball, and when we went to high school, there was coaches there, but it's a long story. They didn't really coach me.
Yeah.
It was just, my whole idea was knock the shit out of you, and I'll progress. So it wasn't the best way to learn football.
The game has changed now
Well, now
because
it's
that used to be the ultimate equalizer
Yeah.
of the guy who
Even then, it didn't work right. Even then, it didn't work right because you could hit a guy like on a reverse. Say they run it around and you're in and you got a clean shot.
Yeah.
And instead of tackling him, I would hit him with a forearm.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes they wouldn't go down. They'd spin and keep going.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was like that. It was like kamikaze football.
Well, you would have been a great special teamer.
Probably.
I used to do that.
Yeah.
Back when I first got in the league, they used to have wedges.
Oh, yeah, I
on the
know what the
kickoff.
wedge is, yeah.
Now the whole new thing, kickoff rules, practice kickoff, but it'll be electric. There'll be a lot of touchdowns. But the old days, you'd have 3 or 4 guys, and your job was to run 60 yards, and you hit the 320-pound guard that's in the wedge, full speed.
It's like,
There's this guy, Bubba Ventrone. He's a special team coordinator, I think, for Indianapolis. That dude used to run down. He was 205 pounds. He could run fast. He was probably a 4.3 guy, and I swear he knocked himself out at least every
that's
game
unbelievable.
once.
Yeah.
But he did his job.
Yeah.
And he was a badass at doing it.
Yeah, there were guys when I was playing that there were hitters. Today, I mean, the game has really gotten so much more sophisticated. I mean, really.
Yeah.
I mean, athletically, size-wise, speed-wise. And even when I played, it was a lot faster than college.
Yeah.
You know, like like I'd get in a scrimmage, and some plays I never even got touched
Yeah.
because I wasn't where I should be. They'd
Yeah.
leave you alone. If you got in the action, that's where you got hit.
No, there's rules.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
through I mean, it's like with anything. Over time, the evolution, the technology, the information, the studying of the older habits, the studying of the newer athlete, the new penalties, the new rules, everything dictates the type of game. Let's jump into how did it go down when you signed as a priority free agent? You went to Youngstown after going to Ohio University, which I was a Mac daddy. I went to Kent State, used to play against Ohio, actually went to
I went to Kent State. I went up there. I'd watch games. You know, I watched OU play Kent State.
Yeah.
Somebody won in a field goal. I forget. I think OU won in
Yeah.
a field goal, like 51-yard field goal or something. It was unbelievable. And that, you know, I was happy, but I couldn't show it because I was with my sisters at Kent State.
Yeah.
But Kent State was a nice school.
It was cool. I mean,
Who was your coach? It's some strange coach.
I had Doug Martin.
No, I'm thinking of a different guy.
Well, the cool thing, so you're 69. Saban went to Kent State, and I think he was out there at 70. He was 72 was his last year. He was on the MAC championship team, the last MAC championship team before I got there. But Ohio was always like did they have cool Halloweens at Ohio University back then? Because that was
Yes.
like the thing.
And St. Patty's Day was a big day. 'Cause
Yeah.
They dyed the Hocking River green.
Yeah.
Oh man, it was suicide.
It was a fun school.
It was. And a beautiful.
Beautiful.
Hocking River Valley. It was
And
gorgeous.
all the buildings, I mean,
Yeah.
it looked like it was made in 1800.
It was really nice. I even got in trouble. I mean, trouble with the coaches playing there because when I came from Youngstown, our manner of playing in Youngstown
tough.
was what we talked about. And it wasn't that way at OU. For example, I did very well at middle guard in high school because I was only about 180, but I was fast.
Yeah.
I was very quick. And I'd play over the center and I'd bang them. And, you know, depending on the feel, I'd go, you know, or I'd shoot a gap, blow a gap. When I got to Ohio U, they had a really good middle guard that had graduated. His name was Lance Tigger. It's a great name.
Yeah.
And he was not a big guy, but he was a very good player. And his method was he would sit back on his haunches at the snap like a baseball catcher. And he would kind of use his forearms or his hands.
Two gap.
Yeah, as a shiver, and then he could go. But I was long and I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
You know, I was on all four and I had to be going forward. And they kept making me they wanted me to play like him. I
Yeah.
said, I'm not him. I'm not built like him. So that was right off the bat. It was like, you know, I was starting as a freshman.
Yeah.
But it was illegal. So I couldn't actually get in the game, but they were in spring ball. I was first team.
And then didn't you, because you played freshman ball, you couldn't start. Didn't you used
No.
to play against Roger Staubach when
Well,
he
I
was?
played against Staubach in an actual game.
Yeah. Explain,
Uh,
when was that?
'Cause he was, let's see, that would have been 67.
It was a military game, right?
Yeah, he was at Pensacola Naval Station.
Yeah.
He was doing his bit
His
you know,
time.
after Annapolis. And they had like 2 or 3 All-American receivers. I think one was from USC and one was somewhere else. So just for him to throw to, you know.
Yeah.
And that was the longest goddamn game I ever played in my life. He threw every play. And if he didn't throw, he just ran around back there. You know,
Chasing him.
You couldn't chase him. And I finally hit him out of bounds illegally because I chased him, and he stepped out. And I just kept coming. And it was right on his sidelines. And there was a guy named Lynch who was the heavyweight boxing champ of Annapolis.
Oh, wow.
He wanted to kill me, you know, because he was on the sidelines.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, hey, man, you know, I chased the son of a bitch. You know, I'm going to hit him. I'm good friends with Roger now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's a stud. He came and talked to our team a few years ago. You know, we'd always have someone influential that has had a lot of success in pro sport or something to come talk to the team. And he was a interesting guy that just, you could tell he Dudley do right, crosses his T's, dots his
Never
I's.
cursed.
You could just, you could tell he's a leader.
Yeah, he'd say, "Gosh darn it, gee whiz." I'm out there thinking, and my mouth is
Youngstown, Ohio, baby.
Youngstown, but he's a wonderful guy.
He
and
is.
that guy was such a great. He's the best I ever played against.
Yeah.
There's no doubt he was the best. I couldn't believe it.
So how did you? Who was your team growing up in Youngstown? If you was that because the Browns were really good then.
The Giants.
You were because of
For
football.
me,
Because that's what you saw on TV, probably.
I saw The Violent World of Sam Huff.
Yeah.
You remember that?
No.
Oh my God, I'm so old. It was one of the first things out in this format, and they had a linebacker from West Virginia who went to the Giants, Sam Huff,
Yeah.
and it was.
And we all know Sam Huff. I don't.
You do, okay. So it was called The Violent World of Sam Huff, and they mic'd him. No one had ever been mic'd before, and it was like an hour-long special of him, middle linebacker. And that got us all going, man. It was great. Yeah. And talking bullshit and everything, talking shit. It was great. But even before that, I don't know why. It must have been my dad. Somebody liked the Giants. And we didn't like the Browns.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I went up to training camp. I had my dad take me up because it was Hiram College. Well, you're from Kent, to watch the summer workouts. And Jim Brown was playing.
Oh, wow.
So in my life, I've never asked for an autograph in my life, not before or since. And I was, I think, 12. And he came out, he was like, it was like one of those dog day afternoons, right? And he's sitting there and he's got his pads here and he had that mohawk. The guy looked like he was great. The guy was amazing looking. So my dad said, go on, get an autograph, get an autograph. So I went over to him and he looked up at me, he saw me coming, and it wasn't a happy look. And I said, autograph? He said, not now. Walked away. I never asked for another autograph in my life. And later I met Jim and got to be kind of friendly with him much later, I think when one of the elections I ran into him and I told him that. And he said, oh, God damn, I'm so sorry. I used to do that shit.
In Jim's defense, though, like you said, it was probably the second practice.
It was the second practice.
The guy's been running. They're running those guys like dogs back in those. That's when training camp. You look at a training camp nowadays, you laugh. I had double days early in my career for 3 years. Then we jumped over to the new rule where you can't have one every 5 days, and it's changed. That's when, like, training camp, these guys, they used to get these guys in crazy shape. They'd work them to death. There was no analytics on loadage or anything.
No.
It was more like when the coach got tired of yelling, that's when practice was over.
That was about it. In fact, that day they scrimmaged, and Brown, of course, everyone's watching Jim Brown. And Frank Ryan was the quarterback, if you remember Frank Ryan. And I'm watching Jim Brown, and he wasn't doing anything. I mean, he'd come out of the huddle. He'd be in the huddle. The huddle would break. He'd hardly move.
Yeah.
Take one or two steps. And then he'd just he wouldn't even get in a 3-point. Maybe, very slowly. Ball would be snapped, and he'd walk off to one side or the other. And they'd either hand it to a running back or Ryan would throw a pass. He didn't move. And I thought, he's not even practicing, So one play, he walked off to the side. Ryan went back to throw, and then he drifted out, and he got a little screen out to the left, right by us.
Yeah.
And he's coming hard, like running towards us, and then he's cutting it up. And there's two guys coming to hit him at the sidelines. One went low. He hit the guy with his knee, and the other guy came high, and he punched the guy in the neck. I mean, hard.
Yeah.
And dropped both of them and took two more steps and stepped out of bounds. And then he walked back.
That was Jim Brown's thing.
Oh, my God. It was something to see.
Man. Was he the best?
And he was bigger than those guys. He was 225, 230.
100%. And he was faster than
and his
everyone.
waist was this big.
Was he the best football player you ever saw?
That I ever saw? Yeah. There's no question.
Belichick talks about
No
how good Jim Brown was.
Yeah. And I knew Lawrence Taylor pretty well. Lawrence did our show.
Yeah.
And he was with us for a week. That's the best way to play football. Have a show where you're in that ridiculous uniform there, and you never get hit.
Polk high?
Polk high.
It is a little chilly in here. Get my jacket on real quick.
Oh, you got that? Oh, my God. That's great.
What are you talking about?
That's so funny.
My dad is the Al Bundy of 12-year-old Pop Warner football coaches. He never played football, but he thinks he's Al Bundy of the coaches of Pop Warner of 12-year-olds.
So for the audio listeners, Jules just put on a Polk High varsity jacket.
No,
Well,
not a Polk High.
That's
The
amazing.
Polk,
That's
the
amazing.
Polk High jacket. Does this bring back
1966?
memories?
I didn't see that over there.
What memories do you think about when you first see this jacket?
Well, we had so much fun on that show. I mean, that show, it was a crazy show. The writers, creators of that show was a Jewish guy from Brooklyn and a black guy from North Carolina. And together they looked like gas station attendants. But they were brilliantly funny guys and just completely out to lunch, the whole thing, you know. But we would laugh so hard. I mean, it was really hysterical. And, you know, every year we thought we were going to go, you know, like every season I thought 2-3 shows they're going to tell us to go home.
Yeah.
You know? And it just kept going.
Now, it was an 11-year run you guys had, which spanned a lot of my childhood. But getting in that routine, that day-to-day life, when you know, because I remember being with Gronk for 10 years. You know, when you come to work, he knows when I'm in a bad mood. You know when they're in a bad mood. You're in the locker room. Then you got to go out to practice and perform. And you know what I mean? Did you have any of those moments where you kind of just knew what was going on? How was the day-to-day life?
Well, it's
when you're
very
doing that?
similar to playing ball. I mean, without the contact.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, and of course it's guys and gals.
Yeah.
So that's obviously different. But you're still performing.
Yeah.
You know, you got a live audience. And so it's a teamwork thing. You really do have to have that kind of sense of team. And, you know, when one's down, you try to pick them up. And, you know, it's very similar, actually. And also the discipline that you do develop, you know, somehow playing football helped me, you know, because I, you know, like even now, this thing I just did, FX promotes like you can't believe, you know, and I do it.
So Ed is talking about the new show that premiered, I think, this week, yesterday.
Yeah,
I watched the first
last night.
episode, Clipped.
Yep.
First 2 episodes came out on Hulu. Awesome story about the whole ending of the empire of the Sterling
The
family.
Clippers.
the Clippers owner. We all remember that in 2013. You know, I watched the episode. I only watched 1 episode.
Yeah, that's
Hours.
That
You know.
kind of sets the table.
Yeah.
And
But that first episode, I
Yeah.
mean,
it's L.A. You know, it's L.A. and all the underbelly of L.A. and
it is.
yeah,
And it was really cool. Like, you got me to forget that you were Al Bundy, Modern Family dad.
yeah. I'm glad.
You know, and
It's called
that's
good acting.
That's called, you know, good acting, I guess.
Well, you know,
made me
you
believe.
You sit down, they give you the piece, and then they did something to your skin. Like apparently, this guy had sort of bumpy something, and then tan, like he liked the sun,
Yeah.
and then the glasses and all that. And then I listened to his voice, which is kind of, I wasn't really trying to imitate. You couldn't, but sort of a pedantic way of speaking.
Yeah.
You know, like ing endings were pronounced and a little whiny. You know, he talked like
Yeah.
that. But that's all I did.
Yeah.
And everything was in the script. The script was really good.
Now, how do you remember your lines when you had to go through the script?
Oh,
Is it hard? Because I've had some cameos and I get so nervous
it's hard
when I'm learning a script.
But here's what you do. You just learn scene by scene. So in other words, if you're doing 2 scenes in a day, or whatever your job is, you just learn that scene, and you just do that scene, and then the next day, you know, you have another scene.
Yeah.
So you take it, you know, it's designed to create a story at the end of the day. You don't have to worry about down the road. You know, that's someone else's job.
So like on Wednesday install, it's just first and second down. On Thursday,
Exactly.
it's third down.
Exactly.
And then Friday, it's red area.
Exactly.
And then we just put it all together.
At the end of the day, you're a genius, you know.
Well, there's a big trend in Hollywood with a lot of sports scripted content happening in the world.
Well, I did. Are you talking about
Yeah.
my experience?
Yeah.
I did a movie called Little Giants,
My favorite.
which is great. That's where I met John Madden, because John's in it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll tell you funny. This is. I mean, I'm just all over the place. But when I met John, I was just hi, and oh God, this is hilarious. Actually, the first time I met John was in New York City, and I'm walking up the street by Central Park with a friend of mine named J.J. Johnston, who's a legend. He passed on now. Legendary guy, had been in prison, came out, became an actor, one of David Mamet's guys.
Yeah.
One of my greatest characters in the world that I knew. And we're walking up, and he's got to buy suitcases because he's going with Al Pacino to London to do American Buffalo in London.
Wow.
And he didn't have any luggage because he's from Chicago, but he just took a bag. So he got this cheap suitcases. I'm lugging one, he's lugging the other. We're going back to where he's staying. And I hear him go, John, Jesus Christ, it's John. And Madden's a catty corner. He goes, hey, what are you doing? Come here, you motherfucker. So he comes over, he says, how you doing? He's a big guy, John's big guy. How you doing? Good to see you. He said, yeah, it's good to see you, kid. You're looking great. Where you headed? I'm just going down here. I got to meet a guy I got a little meeting with some guys here about something. You know Ed O'Neill? He said, no, I know who you are. I haven't had the pleasure. He said, Ed, John Madden, the great John Madden. Maybe you love, say hello. I said, hi, okay. But he's looking at me like, he looks scared. And I thought, what the hell? Because we look like muggers. We look like this guy, if you saw him. So now John says, hey, man, I got to go. And he said, go ahead, John. Lovely to see you. Go ahead, kid. Hey, great guy. He goes down the street. I said, how do you know John Madden? He said, I don't. John, he was terrified. Thought we were going to mug him. Yeah. So now, much later, I'm working with him, in Little Giants. And then I did that timeline thing years after that. So by this time, I know his son, Mike.
Yeah.
Who's the greatest guy. Mike's a great guy. So Mike called John and said, I saw this thing timeline and on Peyton's comeback with Wes Welker and the neck injury. So he sent it to John. So John sent it to Mike. And then Mike called me. He said he thinks it's one of the best things he ever saw on pro football.
Wow.
I mean, the way it was written. I narrated it.
Yeah.
You got to check it out. So it's only an hour long. So anyway, I was interviewed about it. And I said, I was never emotional about quitting football. Never. I didn't miss it. I didn't give a shit about it. And I'm narrating this thing. And I'm almost finished with the narration. We almost went all the way through. And it's like not quite twilight in the show. It's, it's the sun is set, but it's still light.
Yeah.
And they're in this abandoned stadium, I think Tennessee or somewhere, and he's doing a mock drive down the field with his receivers, Welker and so-and-so, and the running back, and he's making up linebackers, watch the Mike line. I never heard that term, by the way, Mike linebacker. But they're saying that, and then he's doing the Omaha thing, and they're driving down the field, and it's kind of relaxed, and I'm talking about it, and the dialogue is, there's no place in the world he'd rather be than here right now doing this. Something like that. And I actually got emotional. I mean, the memories of playing football with my friends as a kid and everything, it was like almost overwhelming. I could hardly talk. And I thought, where did this come from?
Yeah.
But I loved it. It was great.
So,
you don't lose that. You think you get away from it, but you really don't.
No, and that's what you miss the most.
Yeah, that's what you miss the most.
Is
your friends and your
the camaraderie.
Yeah, exactly.
The locker room time. I mean, I miss competing at a high level. I miss.
Oh well, you did it at the highest level.
You miss that, but you can find that in other ways.
Yeah,
but it's the real, getting yelled at with your boys.
Yeah.
Winning a game with the boys. The flight home after a road victory with the boys. And the team. It was awesome.
I met Brady when he was at Michigan.
Yeah.
And they were playing the Rose Bowl. They were out in Pasadena. And I got a call from my ex-high school coach named Jerry Hanlon. He was now the defensive backfield coach for Michigan.
Yeah.
And he said, hey, I was doing married. He said, would you come out to meet the guys? It's like 2 or 3 days before the game. I forget if they were playing, but yeah, sure. So I drive out and I meet the team and I meet Brady. And, he was just handing off at Michigan. You can't imagine.
He had to come back in the the Orange Bowl the next year, I think.
Against Alabama.
Was that it? Yeah. Okay.
He was a comeback kid.
Yeah. But I mean, he was, and then I did a pilot with him with, oh God, what was her name? A beautiful girl from Texas. Anyway, it was her.
I don't want to throw any names
It was,
out
no, it was her. Jessica, no, I was playing her father.
Yeah.
And it was her story. And I was, I was along for the series if it went, which I prayed to God it wouldn't go after we shot it. But they had Brady there, and they had the linebacker Arrington
Yeah.
from
LeVar
Penn State,
Arrington.
and they had a kid from Dallas, and they were like so happy. It was like, I think Tom had won 1 Super Bowl,
Yeah.
and that's when I said, I met you at Pasadena. He didn't, oh yeah.
He OYA'd you?
No, he knew, but it was he was just beginning, really, although he won that 1 Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He said, I may never win another, but he did.
6 more.
Amazing.
Crazy.
Just amazing.
Your John Madden story reminds me a lot of, we had Eric Stone Street on the show, and we did a Kansas City Chief game. He has almost the exact same story as you meeting John Madden, but meeting Tom Brady. Yeah. It was him and Brent Veach, who's the GM of the Kansas City Chiefs. Brett used Eric as a means to talk to Tom Brady. Oh, it's so funny.
And he called him 2-inch or something?
Yeah,
Eric,
2-inch
Eric's
Brady.
hilarious.
But Eric
Tom
Stone
went
Street.
up 2 inches just to say hi and then went back 2 inches. Stone Street's funny.
He's amazingly funny, and he's a very creative guy.
Very creative.
I mean, amazingly so.
And he's
He
got
knows
a
ball.
knowledge of everything about the Chiefs. He can pinpoint.
And the Royals, of which he's a part owner now.
Yeah. Is he a part owner?
He bought a little share, yeah. I don't know how much, he didn't tell me.
Jeez.
He's a great guy.
He is a really great guy.
He's a great guy.
You know who you should play? I just thought about it. You played Sterling. You gotta play Chuck Noll. I mean, all these little. Could you play Chuck Noll?
I could play Chuck Noll because I mean, I don't look like Chuck Noll. I didn't look like Sterling, but Noll was a wine connoisseur too. He was a red wine guy.
Yeah.
A very, very sophisticated guy, not like your normal coach. Quiet, but almost like he reminded me of like some kind of bird of prey. I mean, in his look,
Yeah.
he had the eyes like a hawk,
Hawk.
that pointed nose thing. Yeah, him and Bradshaw, they didn't get along at all.
Yeah, I think they cleared it up at the end though.
And he didn't like Hanratty for some reason. Terry was the coolest guy you ever would meet. Remember him?
Yeah.
He was a Notre Dame guy, but
Yeah.
He played this year a little bit.
Terry did?
Yeah, in this 2000s,
Terry could
1974
throw.
season.
And it was kind of a sidearm thing, but it was
They had 3 quarterbacks
slingshot.
play this year.
Man, Little Giants. What about Wayne's World? I loved you in Wayne's World. I loved Wayne's World.
I did that. I just did that as a favor to my manager's company, Brillstein Gray. They produced that movie,
Mhm.
and it was all about Dana Carvey and
Mike Myers.
Mike Myers. And in fact, when I did it, they weren't getting along, and they, it was almost like Laverne and Shirley.
Yeah.
One would come out, then the other would come out. They'd do the scene, then they go back. It was like I knew both of them
Yeah.
because we had the same managers.
That's awesome though. That because I've had teammates where they don't get along. We don't get along. This, that.
Sure.
But to come together to make something good,
And that's hard.
that's hard.
That's real
But
acting.
it's cool.
That's real acting. Mike wrote that thing for I was that whack job that ran Stan Mikita's donut shop.
Yeah.
And I remember I had that one speech in the dead of winter when you stab a man, you can see the steam rising from the wounds. Mike was, seriously. It was funny, though.
What was Mike?
Mike Myers.
Oh, because of he wrote that?
He wrote that. He wrote my part. And Chris Farley, I knew Chris.
How was any Farley stories?
I'll tell you the greatest Farley story you'll ever hear in your life. John Lovitz had a Super Bowl party, and he lived in Brentwood, and we all, a bunch of guys, everybody went. And Chris came in late. Just before the kickoff, he came bursting in the door. He made those entrances where he's out of gas.
Yeah.
What's going on? He came flying in. And he was coming from rehab in Venice, like his 15th trip.
Yeah.
And they had a big spread. It was like a Mexican motif, with the food. And everybody had eaten and had a plate, and everybody was going into the screening room for the kickoff. So Farley runs over to the table, and he's piling up food, on his plate. He's in a hurry. And Lovett says, "Leave a little something for the rest of us, Chris." And we all went in and shut the door, but Chris was out there. Kickoff. It's the first series. We're watching whatever. I can't remember what game. And the door opens, and Chris comes walking in. And he had taken a loaf of Italian bread, and he had cut it lengthwise. And then he put every condiment that was on the table on the sandwich, pepperoncini, onions, tomato, everything. And in between, he had sandwiched John Lovett's beloved kitty cat, live cat, in the sandwich. And he was holding it, and he walked in and said, "I'll eat any fucking thing I want to on Super Bowl Sunday." And Lovett screamed, "Ah!" The cat was like this, in the sandwich.
Is everyone dying?
Oh my God. Can you imagine?
Oh my God. I can't imagine.
But he was the sweetest guy. He was, a lot of people don't know that his father was 500 pounds. I'm not making 500 pounds up.
Yeah.
He was 500 pounds and a very successful businessman. But Chris had that fat gene. He couldn't be thin.
Yeah.
And
That's tough.
Yeah, it is. I have a picture. I must have left my phone in the car. That's okay. We had him recreate it, the sandwich with the cat, without the condiments, but he did. And I've got the photo of him, with the cat.
You'll have to get it.
Yeah.
Now, we got to jump. We should probably jump into the segment where we get into 1975, but.
Oh, fuck 1970. No, I'm kidding.
Well, we always go back.
I know. I'm kidding you.
Yeah. With where the game took place. Let's go back to around January 12th, 1975. Number one movie, Towering Inferno. I believe they made a remake. You don't like remakes, I've heard.
No, and I don't like that one either. I mean, those movies, I don't
Steve
watch
McQueen, Paul Newman, Fred Astaire, Faye Dunaway.
It was Newman and Steve McQueen, right?
Mm-hmm.
They hated each other when they shot that. McQueen used to count lines. He's got more lines than me. Newman didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Well, they'd say, well, okay, well, give him two more. They'd write, so, okay, let's go.
Jeez. Divas. I mean, I guess you get some diva. I mean,
oh, yeah, they're there.
If Tom didn't throw me the ball at least 5 times in the first quarter, I was pissed. Number one song, Mandy by Barry Manilow. That was a fun song. It still holds its own.
Yeah, Manilow he was good.
Around this time, Wheel of Fortune debuts. The Jeffersons premieres. Were you a Wheel of Fortune guy or Jeopardy guy?
Neither. But The Jeffersons was co-written by Michael Moye, who did Married with Children.
Oh, wow.
He wrote, I forget what part, he wrote a couple of the parts on that. He also wrote for Laverne and Shirley.
Jeez. And I heard the Modern Family people did Frasier.
Frasier, Golden Girls,
Yeah.
Just Shoot Me, a number of others.
Reboot, too, which I thought was really good, but just didn't catch on.
The reboot, of Frasier.
No, the reboot, the show reboot on Hulu.
Oh, yes. I
last
thought
year.
that was good, too.
Yeah, it just
had that kid from the partner pool, and
yeah.
That kid's funny.
And Johnny Knoxville was in it, and he was actually really good.
yeah, no, that I was shocked when they canceled that.
Paul Allen and Bill Gates founded Microsoft
Yeah,
out in Mountain View, Was it Mountain View, California?
Let me look.
Yeah.
Had to be
No,
Mountain
weren't they
View.
I think it was. Yeah, up by Seattle, wasn't it?
No, I'm from
No, I
this
think
area. I'm
that
from Silicon
Microsoft's
Valley.
Seattle.
Redwood
Silicon
City.
Valley, right?
They all went out to
I thought
Stanford.
that was Seattle.
Yeah.
I think,
But that's where
think
their headquarters
Microsoft
is.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, on the lake, he had that house on
Beautiful.
This is saying Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Maybe Albuquerque, New Mexico. We were completely off. We were completely off.
the Godfather 2.
Godfather 2, Young Frankenstein, Jaws.
Oh my God, that movie scared
It
me
scared
so much.
everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all great movies, all those.
That's when movies were movies.
Yeah, Godfather 2 was great with De Niro as the Brando, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
That
The
was
third
so
one
good.
it lost me a little bit in The Godfather. Did you like it?
The third one wasn't as good. No.
I liked
It just didn't make it.
Yeah, 2 was awesome. You got De Niro. You got to see
They had some good performances in there.
Yeah,
but it wasn't as good.
It wasn't as good. What about in the sports world? 75, 74 Super Bowl champions were the Pittsburg Steelers. NFL MVP was Kenny Stabler.
The Snake.
The Snake.
I met Kenny. Kenny did Married with Children. He was a really cool guy.
Oh, I bet.
He came on the same. That's when I met Lawrence Taylor, Kenny Stabler,
Who's
Bubba
cool?
Smith.
Bubba Smith. What is it?
The name?
No, yeah, the name Bubba Smith.
No, Bubba Smith.
Bubba Smith.
Remember Bubba?
I don't.
Bubba Smith, the defensive end for the Colts. 6'7", 315.
Yeah. I got him right here.
Played for Michigan State.
Okay. What year?
I don't know. I forget. Around my time.
Yeah.
Michigan State 64 to 66 was
Yeah.
drafted first overall, one of
Jeez.
one.
Oh man, he was.
1967 draft to the
my
Colts.
dad loved the Rams.
He did the show. He did Married with Children. He played Spare Tire Dixon. He's the one that stole my trophy out of the trophy case, and we had the one-on-one. Oh, I had to make it in slow motion.
1966, 4
No, I had
touchdowns.
to change it to slow motion. I did this. We had a thing where we come up against each other. It was a goal line stand. It had been a contested call in the championship game where I crossed the line. They called it a touchdown, and he swore I never got over. So now, all these years later, we're going to do it again, and that imaginary goal line, just the two of us.
Oh my God.
It was so funny. You got to Google that. You got to watch that show.
1966.
It's one of the great ones. He couldn't. He hadn't done anything, I don't think. And when we rehearsed it, he couldn't pull back. It was like
So you're
it
getting
was
real
like
hits.
getting in with an actual grizzly bear. That's how strong he was.
Oh yeah.
And finally, I went to the guys and I said, "Hey, this ain't gonna work." I said, I got to work next week. Let's just go slow motion. And we'll film it like it's slow motion, but it's going to be slow motion. It turned out hilarious.
Oh,
And he's a sweet guy, too.
I bet he is.
The 1966 City Championship, Polk High Panthers versus the Andrew Johnson High School against Bubba Spare Tire Dixon.
4 touchdowns in one game, 1966, baby.
We should have done that game.
Who's the coolest cameo you guys ever had? You've ever had in any of your shows, any of anything?
The coolest cameo on any show I ever did?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. That's impossible.
Impossible.
We had so many. On Modern Family, we had so
Yeah.
many. Alone. I mean, I just couldn't say. I really couldn't say.
Have you ever met Bill Walton? 'Cause he was
No,
drafted.
I never met Bill.
R.I.P.
I love that. I watched that wonderful Luckiest Guy in the World doc.
Yeah.
Mm.
I like the Pac-10. I grew up in the Bay Area. So, I'd be in Boston when I was playing, and it'd be 11 o'clock at night or something, and the Pac-12 team would be playing, and Bill Walton would be going on he'd be talking about like a forest in Northern California, and it had nothing to do with basketball.
I used to, I don't even know when this was, and I don't even know if this actually occurred, or my brain just made this happen. I remember seeing a photo on the cover of Sports Illustrated of Walton going up. It was either to block a shot or it was a rebound. I'm not sure what it was. But he was up, and his hand was this far above the top of the backboard.
Yeah.
I mean, he was 7 foot.
Yeah.
And then he could still jump. Oh my God. I said, this is
He would, if he didn't have those back problems.
And feet.
Yeah, but when you get those big guys on that,
Oh,
with those shoes back then,
Yeah, no.
wearing Converse.
No, right.
There's nothing.
There's no support whatsoever.
Might as well play it barefoot.
Yeah.
And that hardwood is hard.
He was such a great player.
He was
could pass.
unbelievable.
He could do everything.
He's kind of like Joker.
Yeah.
So Jack is texting me. He's saying that your memory is correct. That was March 25th, 1974 issue.
You're kidding me.
Yeah.
That's
74
right.
issue.
Oh my God. Can you bring it up?
Let me
Bring it up. I haven't seen it since then. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but I'd like to see it.
And while Leah brings this up, the Rams linebacker
Hacksaw
Hacksaw.
Reynolds.
Hacksaw
for
Reynolds.
the Rams
And the
49ers.
snake.
He
the
played
snake-
with the Niners too, didn't
Yep.
he?
and
did.
Jack
Because we used
and
to-
Jack Youngblood.
Yeah.
Played with a broken back in the Super Bowl. Played with a broken bone. All right, where is it?
There it is.
Oh, there it is. Is that it? Well, it's not above. Okay. All right, it was that one. Well, I exaggerated.
Bill Walton. R.I.P.
But you see.
Yeah. I mean, that's talk about playing above the rim.
Oh, man.
This when the A's were good. They won their 3rd straight World Series. Oakland A's. I grew up.
I remember they had the mustaches, right?
Yeah.
They looked like the old 1920 players. That was so cool.
Who was the pitcher? That was the 80s. I'm thinking of the 80 guy with the mustache.
Oh, God.
From the Battle of the Bay.
Is it Dennis Eckersley?
Yeah, Eckersley.
Boston guy, too.
Boston. Well, remember we met him at Strega one night with Nicky Verano, Tony Lasorda, or Tommy Lasorda.
Yeah.
Tommy Lasorda, who was mentioned in the pilot or the first episode of Clipped.
Yes, that's right.
She wanted to go to the goddamn game.
Listen, you want to have dinner with Tommy Lasorda?
There you go.
All right. Give me the phone.
Can we set the stage for this Super Bowl 9, starting with the Minnesota Vikings, Kai?
Yes, we
Kai
certainly can.
Fran Tarkenton. This was like the Buffalo Bills before the Buffalo Bills.
Yep. He was sort of a mini, well, not a mini, but he was a Starbuck.
Short quarterback, scrambled.
Yeah. So I remember Foreman, too. Chuck Foreman, who was a wonderful running back.
So this 1974 Vikings team, Pro Bowlers, Fran Tarkenton, Chuck Foreman, John Gilliam, Ron Yeri, Carl Eller, Alan Page, Paul Krause.
Alan Page was from Canton.
Canton, Ohio.
He had Page 1 and Page 2. His brother was Page 2.
Oh, wow.
He wasn't smart enough to go to college. He worked at Canton Timken roller bearing after he graduated.
Isn't Warren really close?
Yeah, Warren is, yeah.
I used to go to one of my teammates' house in Warren. We used to go to this place called the Hot Dog Shop or something.
I didn't hang around Warren much.
Yeah, it's probably.
I was pretty much in Youngstown.
Yeah,
Youngstown.
The middle spot.
Where you could die at any given moment in Youngstown. I never realized. I never thought it was dangerous.
Eddie DeBatlis from there. It's the midpoint from Chicago to New York.
Yeah.
For a reason.
Yes.
So this team was coached by Bud Grant. They went 10-4.
Yeah.
They were coming off a 12-2 season and a Super Bowl appearance where they lost the Super Bowl 8 to the Miami
People
Dolphins.
Eaters.
This was their 3rd Super Bowl appearance in as many years, and they lost 2 of them. They also notably have never won one. This was the team of the Purple People Eaters.
That's right.
The defensive line, Alan Page, Carl Eller, Jim Marshall, Gary Larson, Doug Sutherland. The Purple People Eaters, they refer to themselves as the Purple Gang, but because of the song by Sheb Woodley.
That's right. A one and done. A one-off, one hit.
One-hit wonder.
And their motto was, meet at the quarterback.
Thoughts on the city of Minneapolis or the people of Minnesota, Ed? This is prime Minnesota football if you think about it. They haven't had this kind of success since then. And they really do have a crazy fan base. Like, those people love Minnesota football, and it's because of this generation of football.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you remember of the Minnesota Vikings this time?
Oh, I love the Vikings. I liked the uniforms. I liked the players. They were rough bunch.
Rough.
Very rough. Vikings, Yeah, I used to follow the Vikings. I liked Tarkenton. He was
crafty.
He was very crafty.
Slippery.
Yeah.
My dad used to say I looked like him when I used to play quarterback.
I know. Were you were a right-hander?
I was a right-hander.
Yeah.
But I was a smaller guy that would run around and make these crazy plays. And my dad would go, "Yeah, a little Tarkenton in you."
Yeah.
A little Tarkenton in you.
He was a bit of a modern quarterback too in this era.
Oh, he would have
early.
He would have lit it up now.
Yeah.
He probably would have played 8 more years. Can't hit him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the Steelers.
Let's pick up these Steelers.
1974 Steelers. Pro Bowlers Ray Gurriela, my pronunciation is bad. Mean Joe Green, L.C. Greenwood, Jack Ham, Franco Harris, Andy Russell. Lot of Hall of Famers
John
on this team.
Salworth.
14 Hall of Famers.
One.
Yeah,
can go
Hammerty
through
was
after.
still with them, right? Yeah. So he was backup. Joe Gilliam. There's a kid who could have been a great player.
What happened?
Drugs, alcohol, and I think he beat out Bradshaw.
Yeah.
He beat out Bradshaw. Bradshaw's second year.
Yeah.
So Gilliam was starting.
So this season was riddled with quarterback controversy. 3 starting quarterbacks. Joe Gilliam through week 6, they were 4-1-1. Then Terry Bradshaw. Then Terry, you pronounce him Hanratty?
Hanratty.
Terry Hanratty. And then back to Teddy Bradshaw, who then started this game.
Yes.
Kind of had a clutch final drive to win it.
Noel was just trying to teach him a lesson. Like, get with it. he wasn't happy up there. You know, he was a Southern kid.
Yeah.
I just saw him. Well, Ham was great. I remember Lambert. Ham came right after I was there.
Jack Lambert, Kent State.
And Lambert. Lambert, Kent State.
Kent State.
So this year,
A little bit of a psycho, right?
A little bit.
Yeah.
the big takeaway on this team is they had an incredible draft, an incredible rookie class. So Lynn Swan, Jack Lambert, John Stallworth, Mike Webster, and then they signed Donnie Shell. All 5 are in the Hall of Fame now.
Isn't that
Came
amazing?
into that team this year, kicked off the Steelers dynasty.
Mel Blount was great.
Mel Blount.
Hall of Famers on this team are just incredible. Mel Blount, Terry Bradshaw, Joe Green, Jack Ham, Franco Harris, Jack Lambert, Chuck Noll, Bill Nunn, Art Rooney, Dan Rudy, Donnie Shell, John Stallworth, Lynn Swan, and Mike Webster.
Yeah, they were loaded.
What a
Loaded.
team.
Mike Webster was a monster. Ernie Holmes had a problem with the.
Now, Ed, when you got there in 69, right? 68,
69.
69, Chuck Noll's first year, could you feel something special was brewing to where they got 5 years later?
No, because I was just like in shock that I was even there
Yeah.
walking around. I remember my dad dropped me off, and it was, St. Vincent's College. And I got there, and the vets weren't really there yet. There were some that were there for special reasons, they do that,
Injuries.
working on things. And so I was there with all the rookies, but, we were getting the rooms and everything. And my father was a tough guy. And he was very quiet. He was always quiet, but he was very quiet that day. And so I said, well, you better get going, Dad. And he said, yeah, let's go. And I walked him out to the car. And he opened the door, and he looked around, and he said, you sure you want to do this? And I wasn't. I mean, I thought, maybe not. I said, oh, yeah, hell yeah. He said, because if you don't, we'll grab your bag, get in, let's get the hell out of here. I said, no, go.
Yeah.
But he was worried. Just watching these guys walking around,
That's what dads do.
Yeah.
They worry.
When we had Terry on, he talked a little bit about how Chuck Noll was really early in trying to get players from different pockets of the country to try to get the best athletes and really kind of create a little bit more of a integrated locker room.
Oh, really?
That
I
wasn't
didn't know that.
Paul
necessarily
Brown, too.
Yeah, at that time.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I think he even said Chuck Noll got his pilot's license so he could fly to these small colleges all across the country.
He was a sophisticated guy.
Yeah.
And I mean, look at that. Those guys. There were so many great players on those.
How mean was Mean Joe Green?
Mean as hell. That's the other thing. They go, oh, that's just a nickname. It's because he's not mean. Oh no, that's son of a gun. He was great off the field. He was a sweet guy in real life, but on the field, he was brutal. I mean, he used to punch guys.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Oh, yeah. I've seen the highlights.
No, he'd hit guys in the stomach with a fist. He had a great uppercut to the solar plexus.
Yeah.
He used to, boom, he'd nail these guys. They'd drop like a sack. I mean, he was brutal. He didn't lift weights. He was what we used to call cockstrong.
Yeah.
Just a normal, naturally, that was a term.
Yeah.
Never touched a weight, but fast. He was a great player.
Oh, he's one of the greatest
I would
of all
put
time.
that motherfucker.
Well-
Anybody, this guy could.
In this game, foreshadowing, he had a fumble recovery and an interception.
Yeah, he was a tremendous player.
He was mean.
Mean Joe, the best commercial ever made, right? That Coke commercial,
We
the
just
best ever made.
we just found out because one of Jules's old coaches, Dante Scarnecchio, was acted in a made-for-TV movie based off of that commercial.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that. That's
Yeah.
right.
Dante Scarnecchio. Now, Terry did,
All kinds of cameos, right? For you,
he's
with
done some
Married to-
cameos with you.
Terry did a Married with Children, and he did Modern Family. I'll tell you a funny thing. We had lunch when he was doing the Modern Family. By now, we knew each other, and we were having lunch, and it was a courtroom scene where he had courtroom duty, and I was trying to get out until I saw it was him. It was my idol, Terry Bradshaw. So we're having lunch, and he's looking at me. He says, when did you play? And I told him when I was trying out, and he said, yeah. He said, well, I played 12 years. He said, yeah, you're young, you're older than me, ain't you? I said, yeah, I'm a year older than you. He said, but you look better than I do. I said, well, I didn't play 12 years in the NFL when they didn't protect quarterbacks.
He had some bad injuries.
He said, man, you're right. He said, shit, I said, how many concussions you have? He said, shit, man, I couldn't count. I couldn't count them all. I said, well, that's why you. And he had detached bicep.
Yeah.
He
He had
had
a bad back, too. didn't he?
everything. I mean, you can't list the series of injuries. And he's happy. He's got a good life.
Terry helped build Fox
Yeah.
Sports.
No
Him and
doubt.
Madden. Madden started with the
Madden
games.
too. Yeah.
He was doing the pregame. Him, Howie,
And
Coach.
a lot like Walton, you know, that just that free spirit kind of say whatever.
Terry's the best, man. He's authentically him.
He really is.
And he-
Remember, he said, "Oh, I sang in the Grand Ole Opry." I said, "Oh, I heard that." He said, "I wasn't any good, but God damn it, I sang there."
Did he tell you that they rolled all his fans there or something? He always, he tells me. I've heard these stories now.
I know. He's a piece of work.
Oh, he's so funny.
He lives in Oklahoma now. You know, he's got horses. He's
Yeah, he's a big horse guy.
got a whole thing. And he said he finally found the right woman. You know, he's probably on his third or fourth.
Yeah. Now, who's on your Steelers Mount Rushmore though?
Well, any number of these guys.
You got
right?
four.
Joe Green. Well, I'll tell you who's one of my favorite. He's not on here. He must have come later. Is that Samoan kid? You know that kid
Troy?
from USC?
Troy
Huh?
Polamalu.
Oh my God, he was one of my favorite players. I mean, just the way he played defense. That kid was right. I mean, did you play against him?
I did.
Did you feel that he was that good, or was he fading by then? Or
No, he was still that good. What made him so good was he didn't necessarily hold the responsibility he was supposed to hold. So,
Yeah,
like,
right.
if you're doing a pre-snap read on something and a
Yeah,
safety
yeah.
comes here and then you do a post-snap and he's supposed to be going this way, Troy would be in a completely different area picking a ball where you're not accounting for that guy to go there
Yeah.
because he's not supposed to be there.
right.
So he had an instinct that was second to none.
Yeah, he'd
and-
come right over the line sometimes.
right over the
you know, I mean,
like,
my
and he
God.
would do that uncalled. Like that wasn't the called
Yeah.
play.
Yeah, you can't teach that stuff.
You can't. And a lot of guys try to do that, but when you do that, you leave your team vulnerable of getting
Oh, yeah.
gashed.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
You know what I mean? A lot
Yeah.
of those, but he never really. I mean,
No.
he'd have his times,
Yeah.
but he made a lot more plays.
He
than
got
we did.
away with it a lot.
Got away with it a lot
Yeah.
more.
My favorite thing about Troy is that while he played during the 2000s with the Steelers, he had the embodiment of the 70 Steelers defense. Like he could have played on those teams and fit right in.
Yeah,
He was also a very gentleman. When you compete against him, he'd say a prayer before every play. He'd light you up.
all those Hawaiians are very religious.
Yeah.
You know, those missionaries did a job on those boys. but look, Lambert, very smart player. He was only about 210,
Yeah, he was small.
and he was 6'4" or 6'3", he was tall, and he had them very big shoulder pads on. Right, he
Huge.
looked like fierce and no teeth, but he was basically just
The
a real
pads.
smart player.
Yeah.
You know, he'd just bring you down. Not a Budkus. Budkus would kill you.
Yeah.
And
We got Mean Joe, Troy, and Lambert. Any
no,
oth-
I wouldn't put Lambert in there. Okay, so Andy Russell, I loved Andy Russell. You know, Andy Russell was one of the smartest linebackers I ever saw play the game. A lot like Joe Schmidt. Remember Schmidt for the Lions? You don't remember
No.
Schmidt. Schmidt was one of the all-time great middle linebackers, and not that big. But Russell, when he played the weak side, he played on the weak side, you know, opposite the tight end. And he'd stand straight up in the air before the snap. He'd be looking around. He'd say, you know, wide out. Watch him. He's coming over there, John. He'd be talking. And he would be like not in a football. You'd think he's not ready to play football. He looked like a ref.
Yeah.
And that ball be snapped, man, and he was on it. You know, he was great.
Formation.
And again, not that big. He was a fullback at Missouri.
Yeah.
He was like you. He was basically a running back. And he was a great player. He played a lot of years, didn't he? He was the captain, wasn't he?
Look,
Andy Russell?
I have a quote from Andy Russell, which is he would tell Terry Bradshaw on the offense, just hold him, we'll get the points.
L.C. Greenwood. Now, he was a rookie when I was a rookie.
Greenwood.
And I would have bet my life that they would have cut him because he played like he was on roller skates. He was 6'7", and he was long and thin.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my God, he looks like a basketball player. You know, I didn't think. But, you know, you're wrong so much. I mean, they worked with him. He had potential.
When you get those long arms, though.
Yeah. And he finally became, as you know, he became a great player.
Well, you get long arms, you get leverage strength. And you keep the guy away from you.
Yeah, that's true.
Then you can two-gap.
Like the Stork.
Yes.
Remember the Stork from the Raiders?
Yeah.
The outside linebacker?
Long.
The Mad Stork.
I don't know.
What was his name?
I don't know his name, but I remember he had...
Oh, my God. Just go Mad Stork. He's probably...
Ted Hendricks.
Huh?
Ted Hendricks.
Ted Hendricks. I will say now, with no problem, one of the greatest linebackers ever.
Ever.
They could never run on him. They could never... And there was another guy, too, that played for the 49ers, number 64. And I don't remember his name. He played for years. Outside linebacker, 240, 6'3", 6'4". Brutal.
Yeah.
And great. What was his
Let me
name?
see. Looking up.
Number 64,
San
Francisco 49ers.
No, that's too soon. Dwayne Wilcox? Perhaps?
Yes, Wilcox.
Wilcox.
Oh, man.
Dave Wilcox.
Dave Wilcox. That guy could play.
Drafted in 1964.
64, probably played to 75.
49ers from 64 to
and
74.
He used to stand
Two teams for
with his hands on his hips and his legs crossed, standing. You know that.
Yeah, when you're tired.
Yeah, he'd just stand like this.
That's a tired look.
Well, let me wrap up the Steelers team. So they went 10-3-1. It was the first tie ever, or overtime to tie.
In record? You mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was their record. And also, notably, just got to say it, this was the Steel Curtain defense. Notably, Mean Joe Green, L.C. Greenwood, Ernie
Passing to the
Holmes,
torch game.
Dwight White. And Dwight White, in this game, got food poisoning, lost 20 pounds. It was going to be whether he was going to play or not. He ended up playing in this game.
Remind me to tell you a funny story about Franco Harris and me.
Yeah, let's hear.
When Sofia Vergara got married, the wedding was at Florida.
Yeah.
What's that hotel? It's beautiful.
Blue?
Down in West Palm Beach.
I don't know West Palm Beach area.
Well, I don't either. So I was there, and most of the cast went down, of course. So anyway, I'm at the reception, and I'm standing with some of the cast, and this guy comes up to me, and he says, "Mr. O'Neill, I don't want to bother you, but I work for a man who's your biggest fan." And I said, "Okay, tell him I said hi." And he said, "Well, he's here." I said, "Well, if he's here, bring him over. Where is he?" He said, "He's over there by the fountain. Don't." I looked and I said, "That's Franco Harris." He said, "Yes." And I looked and I went, "Come here." So he literally like this, came over. I said, "How you doing?" "Oh, Mr. O'Neill, I'm so happy. I can't. I don't know what to say." I said, "Wait a minute. You came the year after me, right? When you were at Penn State." "Yeah." I said, I was a rookie with the Steelers." He said, "Oh, I know all about it." I said, "You do? I got cut?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "And you won 4 Super Bowls?" He said, "Yeah." "Immaculate reception?" "Yes." "And I'm your idol. What's wrong with this?"
Well, that's a great segue because in this game, Franco Harris was the Super Bowl MVP.
Super Bowl
He rushed
MVP this game.
34 attempts for
I knew he was this
158
game.
yards, 1 touchdown, also 2 fumbles, 1 lost. But everyone was fumbling this game.
It was freezing. It was the coldest game on record at the time. Supposed to be in the Superdome. They didn't finish it. Go to Tulane.
Yeah,
That's
so
what we're doing.
The lead up of this game is the Steelers beat Buffalo and Oakland to get to the Super Bowl. The Vikings beat St. Louis, aided by 3 turnovers and a missed field goal. Then they beat Los Angeles on a goal line stand to win at the end of the game. This was billed as like 2 great defenses, Steel Curtain versus the Purple People Eaters.
Passing the torch, really.
In terms of defensive line and
Defensive line, and I mean,
absolutely.
the Vikings wanted to do what the Steelers did.
And the Vikings were just coming off. They were searching for their first Super Bowl title. They had just lost Super Bowl 4, and they had just lost the previous year Super Bowl 8 against the Dolphins. And you mentioned, yes, this is the second coldest Super Bowl ever with 46 degrees. And the reason that is because it was supposed to be at the Superdome, but it wasn't finished yet. So they moved the game to nearby Tulane, where there was all kinds of weather and rain. And so they moved it on the slick turf. And so this game was very sloppy.
Franco was a great running back. He was a load.
Oh, he was huge.
He was big.
Yeah.
Man, when he turned up,
Train.
Ooh.
You got to get him. You got to get him running
You
side
can't
to
let him
side.
get started. Oh yeah.
You got to get him
Yeah, those
early.
legs, man. It was like this guy can bring it.
Now, do you remember where you were when you watched this game?
No, I don't. No, I mean I watched it for sure.
What?
But I was probably in some bar in Youngstown.
Youngstown. You're fresh out. You're about 5 years out. You haven't.
Yeah,
Did
I
you
was
start
like-
Hollywood yet?
I was like 28. I was in Youngstown.
Yeah,
I didn't go to New York till 31. I was 31.
31.
I mean, the odds of me making it when I got to New York were astronomical.
Yeah.
I still can't even believe it. What were they? You couldn't even make odds that high.
Well, you got them. I'll take those
It was
odds.
like winning lotto. You know what I mean?
So this was a sloppy game, sloppy weather, special teams
Noel,
fiasco.
see how he looks?
Mhm.
Like an eagle or something.
You could do it, Noel. We're gonna write a movie for you to be
He's
Chuck
got the
Noll.
same hair.
Jules, you'll play Terry.
I'll be Terry Bradshaw.
Who, Terry? No, I can't play Terry.
No, I'll
We'll
play
get Jules
Terry.
to
You
play
play
You play
Chuck.
Terry?
You played Chuck. I'm
The blonde
about 5
bomber?
inches too
I
short.
could play. You know, Chuck was a messenger guard for the Browns.
Yeah,
Did you know that?
I
He
didn't.
played for Paul Brown. He was an undersized
think
guard. He was probably maybe he was 220. I don't know. Maybe not.
Yeah.
But he used to run the plays in and out for Paul Brown
Wow.
with Cleveland.
So this is a defensive battle. Now, when you watch these games back in those days, were you entertained to see defenses do well like this?
I love the defensive games, which they don't want to see anymore.
No more.
They don't want to see that. And to me, it was, because I was a defensive player, I love the defense. I love the defensive guys.
And it gets a bad rap because we'll get into scoring the game, and a lot of people associate a bad game with a good defensive game.
That's a bad game to them.
It's a bad game.
It is a bad game.
But
It's like the UFC.
yeah,
Dana White, he wants nothing but knockouts. If you go on the ground, you don't get the bonus.
yeah.
Even if you tap the guy out from the ground, Dana White's mad. Sometimes he'll walk out of a fight,
Yeah.
and the guy's on the ground, ready to. I mean, it's just how it's gone because he knows what puts asses in seats, and it's blood and guys get knocked out.
Yeah, kick to the face.
What I call stupid fighting.
Yeah.
It's become stupid fighting.
Yeah.
I went with the Gracies for 30 years, the jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
I got a black belt
Yeah.
from the old man. But if you take a fight, a lot of times you'll see two wrestlers who really can't box,
Yeah.
but they like to box because they just learned it. So they get in there against each other, and they think, "Oh, I think I'm a little better than this one at boxing," and they box. Well, who wants to see that fight? Two guys that really don't know how.
Yeah.
But they won't put those guys on the ground and start from there. But if you're on the ground too long, they stand you up.
Yeah.
So when they stand a ground fighter up, you're at the disadvantage right away. And that's what that's all about now.
well, I mean, you got to pick your battles and you got to use your strengths and try to.
Yeah.
That's why it's an awesome sport to watch right now because you can be a shitty boxer but still go out and get someone
Now
down.
the thing now are those calf kicks.
They're breaking legs.
How did you
That's
get into
really-
mixed martial arts?
Huh?
How did you get into doing the mixed martial arts?
I got in there with, it's not mixed. I didn't do the mixed
jujitsu?
martial arts. I got in with the jujitsu
Mhm.
with from John Milius. Do you remember a guy named John Milius? Nobody remembers John Milius. He wrote Apocalypse Now.
Okay.
He wrote Big Wednesday, which is a classic surfing film. Yeah, you see. Anyway, he was taking jujitsu in Torrance with the Gracie family. They're Brazilians,
Yeah.
and I knew him from the lot. And he used to get the fights, and we'd all go and watch the fights and stuff, the pay-per-view stuff.
Yeah.
He was telling me about these Gracie guys, and the head Gracie was a guy named Hickson Gracie. You wouldn't want to fight Hickson Gracie, and I think his record was something like 400-0, but and that's exaggeration. But anyway, he was trying to get me to go down there and take this jujitsu, and I said, "Is that the guys that wear the pajamas?" And
Yeah.
he said, "Yeah, but this is a whole other thing." And I said, "No, John, So 2 years of this, he's badgering me. And so one day I went down. I said, "I'll meet you there." He said, "No, I want to drive you down." I said, No, I'll meet you there. Because I wanted to,
Get out.
exit. So I go in, and he's in there with Horian Gracie, who was the oldest brother. And they're rolling around, on a mat. I'm looking in the window. I'm thinking, what are they doing? So afterwards, they come out, and I meet Jorge Gracie. He's the oldest brother. He runs the show. And, nice to meet you. It's good to see you. I hear a lot of things. John says good things. And I said, well, the place is very clean. It's very clean. You could eat off the floor, literally. And he said, okay, now you get to have a free lesson with me. I want to show you. I said, no. I said, I got to get back. And I'm in Torrance, right? I said, getting close to rush hour. I don't have to get a motel out here, Ed, come on, please. You're here. You're only here one time. I did 15 minutes. So get Ed a gi. So, the thing, the pajamas.
Yeah.
So I go in, I put it on, I come back out. He says, okay, this is going to be quick. I know you're in a hurry. Lay down on your back, please. And we were in the mat. I lay down. He said, I'm going to kneel on top of you. And then this is a 2-part test, very quick. I'm going to pretend you come out of your bedroom at night and you hear a noise and your wife is afraid and there's a guy in there, right? He maybe open the door and knocks you down and jump on top of you. Your children in the other room. Do you think you can get me off of you if your life depends on it? Now, this guy is $170.
Yeah.
I'm at that time like 240. This is 30-some years ago.
Yeah.
I said, man, if my life depends on it, I think I could get you off. I don't know after that because I knew these guys had, these reputations. But so that's it. That's all you have to do. I said, well, I'm laying like this, I said, well, when? He said, anytime you want. Now, I don't feel his weight on me. He's kneeling, but the weight's on his knees. And I said, all right. Anytime? He says, anytime you want, just go. Just get me off. So I think I bucked up, and, pushed it. 20 seconds later, he's still on top of me. I can't get him off. I'm exhausted. So he's okay. Sit up. Breathe. It's okay. Okay, now, this is the last part. I lay down. You sit on top of me. It's okay. Now, I said, no, I can't. He said, can you hold me down 4 seconds? I thought, oh, my God, 4 seconds? I said, yeah, 4 seconds. What do I look like to you? He said, that's all you have to do. John, you count. 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. I thought, that's fast. 4 seconds, not even 4 seconds. Okay, when? I said, get a hold of me. So I grab him. He said, hey, come on, like a man. They're selling their fish. This is how they do it. So I hold him. I'm squeezing him. He goes, you ready? I said, yeah. Boom, he's on top of me. I'm looking up at him. I said, how'd you do that? He said, this is what we do. I said, I got to learn this. He said, no, Ed, come on. This is not the point. I just wanted to show you what we do. We have some actors come. They do this and that. They go home. They do movies. They don't come back. I said, when can I come back? Come back tomorrow. You want to? I said, what time? Give me the time. I said, Torrance, I'll be here. 16 years later, I got the black belt.
Gee.
Wow.
And it was a lot of humble pie, man, believe me.
I recently got into combat. I've been boxing a bunch.
You boxing?
Yeah.
I used to box as a kid in Youngstown.
Yeah, I bet. It's
a whole other deal.
It's a whole other deal, but it's a great way, an outlet for you to compete with yourself.
Are you sparring?
Nah, not sparring.
Don't spar.
I got too many head things.
Yeah, no, don't spar
Don't
at
spar.
all.
But I'm doing all the movement, the bag work, and it's been fun.
It
hurts my body though. I see all my deficiencies and from my injuries, and because there's a lot of unnecessary. There's a lot of crazy torque on the body when you're doing these things.
Well, boxing is in my opinion now, I'm opinionated about this because I grew up with boxing in Youngstown and, Ray Mancini. There's a lot of great fighters that came out of Youngstown and, there's a whole history of that. But boxing is the only sport that's gone backwards.
Yeah.
It's gone backwards.
Yeah.
In the 30s and 40s, the fighters were the best and even further back. And people will say, no, you're wrong. Look how big they are, the heavyweights. I said, they can't fight for shit. They don't know anything about fighting. They don't know. And those old time guys, look, I'll give you one example. I don't want to go on to, we're going to talk about boxing. Sugar Ray Robinson in his prime, say he's 26 years old in his prime, fights Bernard Hopkins, the executioner. He's going in the Hall of Fame,
Yeah.
Bernard. Bernard, when he was 26, his record would have been like 29-1 or 2 with 18, 19 knockouts. Robinson's record, same age, would have been 91-1 with 74 knockouts.
Yeah.
Fighting the best fighters that ever put gloves on. Now, who's going to win that fight? Be like fighting a girl.
Yeah, it's so that's such a crazy sport though, because the politics in it now.
Well, it was always a little
you know what I
shaky.
mean? So
Always.
like you're never getting you never
No.
see the best fighters fight the best fighters in prime.
No, but in those days, you saw it a lot more often.
Yeah.
Because they almost had to fight each other. And those guys way back, they were better trainers. It was just a whole other deal. Everybody was fighting.
Yeah.
And today, nobody's fighting. Or they fight once a year
Yeah.
because they're making the money. But anyway.
Big money.
Yeah. There's no comparison between the old guys. All you have to do is Google some of those fights and watch them.
Now,
Well, this year, before I wrap up this game, this year was the year of the Thrill in Manila. It was in
Yeah.
1974, 1975 around this game. Fraser Ali 3. But to wrap up this game, or to kind of like put a point to it, scoreless first quarter, Pittsburgh missed a field goal. There was a botch snap on another field goal.
2-0 at halftime.
Yep, that was the first safety in Super Bowl history. Interception on like the inside the 5 and then back and forth. So 2-0 in halftime. The third quarter, Pittsburgh extended their lead with a touchdown from Franco Harris. Minnesota fumbled the kickoff at halftime, which was actually a Steelers. He slipped the kicker on the kickoff at the halftime and then kind of squibbed it and then bounced off the Vikings guy, and then the Steelers recovered.
Shitty shot, well played.
That's kind of the representative of this game. And then fourth quarter, there was a block punt and then returned for a touchdown, or recovered in the end zone for a touchdown. And
That
then
was the Vikings, right?
yes, the Vikings got
And
that.
then wasn't there a drive that won it?
The last minute, there was a 6-minute drive, 11 play, ending with a Larry Brown touchdown. That really kind of, in many ways, is a summation of Terry Bradshaw's career. Starts a little bit sloppy, back and forth. You don't know, but when push comes to shove, when it's crunch time, who do you want the ball in the hand a little bit? TB12.
Oh, TB12.
Yeah.
The original.
Yeah.
TB12.
And then so the Steelers won the game 16-6. One thing I need to mention is that this Steel Curtain team defense during this game allowed less than 1 yard per carry and allowed no offensive scores.
Less than 1 yard per carry. That's a joke.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
And with Fran running around back there, right?
He only had 102 yards passing.
Yeah.
Three
Yeah.
interceptions.
Yeah.
Interceptions by Mel Blount, Mean Joe Green, and then that other cornerback who got called for a late.
Man, what's
Yeah.
the aftermath of this? Franco Harris was MVP. Awesome little story you had there.
First Super Bowl.
Yep,
This
Steelers
is their first
Super
Super
Bowl.
Bowl. This is the kickoff.
Unbelievable.
They would go on to win next year, 1975 Super Bowl.
Two back-to-backs.
10, and then in 78 and 79.
Yeah.
Chuck Noll became the youngest head coach to win a Super Bowl at the time.
42. That was
Wow.
I think
McVay
it's
was
McVay,
34,
yeah.
36.
So Noel was only 42 then.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was a rookie, he was like 36 or 7.
Yeah.
McVay was 36 when he won the Super Bowl, became the youngest ever.
36.
And then, so this would be the third Viking Super Bowl loss. They would then lose again in Super Bowl 11. So they went to 4 out of the first 11 Super Bowls and didn't win a single one.
Hopefully Kevin O'Connell will get him going. Let's
JJ
go.
McCarthy.
Look at Terry with Jenny. Look at Terry. That's Jenny McCarthy, right?
Yeah.
See Noel, see that? See how he looked? Didn't he look like kind of like a
Pointy nose.
Yeah.
Pointy nose.
Was that a movie they were doing?
Yeah, that was the Ryan Reynolds one.
I just met her like at the last SAG Awards. First time I never met her.
I used to like her movie Fried Green Tomatoes.
Oh yeah.
Is that Kathy Bates?
She's good. She's good.
She had a couple scary movies too when I
Misery.
was a kid.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. With the one where she was chopping up
Yeah.
Jimmy Kahn, right?
I was like a little kid when that came out.
my
I was
God,
like
that
terrified of
was-
her.
That's failure to launch.
Yeah, failure to launch.
Yeah.
Now, where do these Steelers rank in the greatest dynasties in history? They got to be top 3. They're the first to 4. They're the first to 6. I mean, this was the first team to
All
win.
these Hall of Famers.
It's got to be up
they've
there.
got to be up there, right? I mean, I can't. Who do you think is the greatest Super Bowl team?
We're a little biased here.
And we got
Probably.
six in 20
yeah,
years.
well, that's it. That's the record.
Yeah, it's not 4 touchdowns in 66, but 6
No,
Super
it's
Bowls
gotta
in
be.
20 years.
It's got to be you guys. It has to be you guys.
Nah, I mean, these Chiefs are looking damn good. They got to slow them down.
Yeah, if
The
they win
Chiefs,
this,
yeah,
if they win
Chiefs are
again,
coming.
They go 3P,
You see where McCaffrey just signed for
2 for 19, little
That's
extension.
sweet. Hey, that kid is some athlete, though, isn't he?
He is.
I mean, he's not much bigger than you, is he?
Probably when we were playing, we were very similar. I was
Yeah.
probably about 5 pounds heavier.
Yeah.
I'm a little lighter right now. But
What was your
he's
40? What'd you run the 40?
I was like a 4.48 guy.
That's fast.
But I was the quickest 5.10.5 shuttle.
Well, that means
Yeah.
that's more
Change of
important.
direction. Well, depends. Everyone's got a strength. There's long
Yeah.
speed. There's short speed.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a superpower
Yeah. Yeah.
at that level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, no, but McCaffrey, I mean, his versatility is insane.
Oh man, his dad was a great receiver.
And McCaffrey used to cut out the toes.
Yeah.
You remember because he liked smaller cleat, but
That's
I found
right.
out I hung out with him at a training camp. He said he did it because he was like the first to cut out you had to X out when you have pressure points. So he was the first to do that.
Well, and I used to say when I was playing football, I used to say, "What are we doing with these giant shoulder pads? What are we doing with these goddamn hip girdles?
Yeah.
Why are we wearing this shit? It's slowing us down. You can't run as fast."
Well,
And you didn't need it. Now they're not doing that.
I used to wear the smallest pads I could because less surface area for you to get hit. Especially as defensive lineman, you get skinny on a guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Go through the crack, go through the seam.
Split the hole, split it.
So a little on the legacy of this game. So I mentioned before, there's 21 total Hall of Famers, 14 from the Steelers, which I listed earlier, 7 from the Vikings, Carl Eller, Bud Grant, Paul Krause, Alan Page, Fran Tarkenton, Mick Tingelhoff, and Ron Yeri. After the game, Bud Grant quoted was saying, "There were 3 bad teams out there, us, Pittsburgh, and the officials." We talked about...
Because it was a sloppy game.
Yeah,
right?
Sloppy.
Yeah.
So due to this game, NFL put in a rule where stadiums can't get the Super Bowl on their first year. So
What was that?
because this game was moved from the Superdome, which wasn't finished, to
Right.
Tulane Stadium, the NFL put in a rule that stadiums cannot get the Super Bowl on their very
Oh, I
first
see.
year.
Yeah,
So they have to
smart.
exist for a year. And something I would like to ask is, because this is the Purple People Eaters versus the Steel Curtain, a couple of all-time unit nicknames. What are some of your favorite unit nicknames in NFL history? I've got a few here, but I'd love to hear what you guys think. Legion of Boom.
Legion of Boom.
I don't even know if
I don't even know.
Greatest Show on Turf.
Greatest Show on Turf.
I
With
don't know that.
That was
The
the
known-
Rams with Kurt Warner.
Well, they were the Fearsome Foursome.
Fearsome
Fearsome
Foursome. Yes.
Foursome.
Yeah, that was the Rams.
Yep.
That was back in.
Deacon Jones.
Yep.
That was my dad liked those Rams.
Yeah, those Rams were good.
Monsters of the Midway.
That's the Bears.
Yep. New York Sack Exchange.
Yes.
The No Names, the 72 Dolphins defense.
Dolphins.
And what was the Redskins? The Redskins.
The
had
Hogs.
offense. The Hogs.
The Hogs.
Uh,
Yeah.
with,
I like Pony Express, even though it's college.
that was college.
SMU.
Well, my favorite college thing was the Chinese Bandits.
Who's that?
The Chinese Bandits was Google it.
I'm gonna look.
I forget. It was LSU. No, Texas A&M. No, the Chinese Bandits were a defensive.
They were LSU Tigers, most
LSU.
notably from 58 to 59. They were used briefly for the Army Cadets.
They were great.
Wow.
The Chinese Bandits.
Wow.
They don't really do that anymore because teams they're not sticking around as long.
No.
So you're not getting the same guys playing for
right.
Steel Curtain. They played 10, 8, 6, 7 years together. Guys are gone after 4, going to another team.
Yeah.
It's a free agency world.
Yeah. And even in the college thing now with that portal thing.
That
Yeah.
everyone's a free agent every
My
year.
God, maybe it'll work out. I don't know.
It's pro sports. It's great to see the kids get paid, but they got to put some. It's tough. It's
You
tough.
know who did Married with Us? We had so many people, but Bo Jackson was on. Bo Jackson was not that tall.
No, but he was built
Oh,
like
God.
His thighs.
He was built.
dude. He had legs.
And he was so unbelievably fast.
He was the fastest guy in the
Fastest
field.
guy in the
but he was
field,
also
right?
like 245 pounds.
I mean, this guy was incredible.
Stud.
Let's score the game. We got to score the game. And he left.
First of all, I've got one leftover question.
What happened?
So we hear a lot about there's Chiefs celebrity fans, John Hamm and Eric Stonestreet and Rob Riggle and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Is there a little bit of a Steelers celebrity fan group in Hollywood?
You got a group chat?
I think there is. I heard there was a bar somewhere where they all go and watch the game.
Yeah.
I didn't. I failed to find out where it was, but there is one.
There is one. Okay.
Who do you watch football with?
By myself.
Like my dad.
I never watch it with
You
anybody
don't want
else.
to talk to anyone.
No, I just watch it.
Yeah, my dad's like that. He never wanted to go to the games.
No, never go. I don't go to the games either.
Well,
I mean, you got to park.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's too much. I just watch it on TV.
The coverage is so damn good too now.
It's better that you miss everything. You go to the game.
I know. Let's name the game.
Let me do a quick stat correction. Earlier on in the episode, you said modern day. The show is Modern Family. That's okay. Jules gets
I said
the
modern
head for
day.
everything. Yeah.
Modern day is the high school down the street that Matt Leinart went to.
Well, okay. And then the pilot that you were on with Tom Brady is called In the Game, 2004, with Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Oh my God.
She played a single mother who was thrust into the spotlight and becomes an ESPN sideline reporter.
Let's name the game. These are some names we came up with that we could potentially call this game. Usually the games we do have a historical name. This could be the Sloppy Bowl, the first one, because it was the first of the dynasty for the Steelers. The Steel Curtain Starter, the Franco Bowl, Stalemate at Tulane, or the Steel Curtain versus the Purple People Eaters. What would you like to name this game, or do you have something else?
No, I don't have anything. I would say
Look, woman.
the Steel Curtain versus the Purple People Eaters.
I like that.
Yeah. Look, woman. Oh, would you say? You said, look, lady. You got a 7. You got a 9 foot. You're trying to get me with the 7.
Oh man.
All right, let's score the game. Is this the greatest game of all time? Let's score it. Stakes 1 to 10. What do you score this game?
1 to 10.
Super
On
Bowl.
stakes.
Super Bowl game.
What do you mean stakes? You
The
mean,
stakes of the game.
So like a regular season game, low stakes. Preseason, almost nothing. Playoff game has higher stakes.
Super Bowl.
Super Bowl. Super Bowls generally are hitting in the high 8s to mid 9s, depending on.
All right. Well, it's the first win, so stakes are high.
Yeah.
You know, I'd say
And the Vikings just lost a couple, so the stakes are higher for them too because they've
So
got a little bit of the loser thing.
score out of 1 to 10.
I'd say 10 for the
10?
Steelers. Right?
Star power. What do you score the star power? How many
Again,
Hall of
I-
Famers?
21 Hall of Famers. in this
21 Hall of
game.
You got to
Famers.
say 10.
10.
Also, Bruce Springsteen was asked to play the halftime show. He
Declined
turned
it.
it down.
You turned it down.
He turned it down, and it was a tribute to Duke Ellington by the Grambling State Band.
Yeah.
Not
Okay,
not the
that's
same in
bad,
Star
the
Power.
Duke. But,
Gameplay.
gameplay. Are you talking? That's talking about the music.
No, the
the
game.
halftime.
The
This is the
gameplay.
game.
The game, like how the game was
Oh, so it was a sloppy game, right?
sloppy, but if you're a defensive guy, it could be a good game.
Yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of mistakes too, like fumbled that are dropped and missed this. So it wasn't
Squid
like
kicks that
that's
turn.
the
forced.
game. I'd say give it I don't know, 8, 7. I don't know.
Go 7.
Go 7.
The
We have
name of the game: Steel Curtain versus Purple People Eaters. Probably 2 of the best nicknames for defenses of all time.
Yeah.
So 1 to 10.
Yeah.
What are you scoring this bad boy?
I'd give it a 10.
10.
Yeah.
10.
Because it's the 2 greatest names
It's got it.
for defense.
What's the total? 925.
And it was a defensive game.
It was a defensive game. The average comes out to 765, along with Jack, Kyler, and my scores. Where does this lead on? We've done all these games.
Oh my God, you guys have done a lot.
We've got baseball, boxing, soccer.
Wow, you got boxing.
Right.
It's in
Wrestling.
between Super Bowl 17 Cowboys versus Bills and Super Bowl 56
56.
with the Rams versus Bengals. That feels pretty good.
The double doink game, the almost tie game.
Just behind the can't wait game. That game's too high.
That's way too high.
And double doink. Yeah, this feels right. We got a new scoring system because shit got wonky. This feels right. Good scoring.
That's a good score.
Yeah.
Good. You should do some jujitsu.
I should, huh? I just
Absolutely.
get terrified with my knees. I have bad knees.
No, you know what? You do a lot of rolling on. You can start out on your knees, so you don't hurt. I never hurt my knees doing jujitsu.
Yeah.
And I have knees. I had 3 operations.
I should try it. Because boxing's starting to hurt my shoulder.
Yeah,
Shoulder's jacked. I've had 4 surgeries.
Yeah, and you can't. Boxing. If 2 guys know boxing, the big guy's going to win 9 times out of 10. Yeah,
You gotta hit. You gotta hit him. Come on. 4-66, maybe 1 game.
but they do have weight divisions in boxing.
They do have weight divisions. Ed, did we miss anything about this game or any of this?
No, I don't think so.
We got it all.
I think so. Yeah.
We
I'm trying to remember where I was when I saw it. I know I saw it. There was a bar I used to go to called the Lamppost. I was probably there.
We got to get to the lamppost. We're gonna take a games with names, go to the lamppost, and do another game.
Well, the Lamppost is not the same now.
Probably isn't, but we'll
Now I
find
think
it.
it's a strip joint or something. But before that it was owned by a mob guy. You can make a lot of bets in there.
Old Youngstown. I never heard of a place in Youngstown with a mob guy.
Well, if you Google Youngstown, Murder Town, USA.
I thought that was
Google
Gary,
Murder
Indiana.
Town, USA, or Bomb Town, USA. When I was a kid, there were 165 unsolved bombings of automobiles with people in them.
From
That was
60
called the Youngstown Tune-Up.
60 years ago, this Ohio City was named Crime Town, USA.
Why? They got the
They got a lot
bombs.
of crime.
Google the Youngstown Tune-Up.
Youngstown had 75 bombings, 11
75.
killings in a decade, and no one seems to care. After years of being called Bomb Town and Murder Town already by other publications, this one was Crime Town, USA, and it really stuck, says Johnny Chiccielli, who was
John
a producer
Ciccatelli.
of Mob Talk.
I know him.
Man.
Youngstown Mob Talk.
This
I
episode is
think
brought
I'm
to you
on it,
by
right?
the
Am I on it?
Youngstown
It's me?
Travel Advisory.
Yeah, I'm on that thing.
Youngstown Mob, you might get tuned up. And everyone might get tuned up right now if you don't go on FX and watch Clip that airs on Tuesday exclusively on Hulu. You're gonna get tuned up. That's where that tuned up probably comes from.
Maybe.
I remember you say you could get tuned up, kid.
No, that was for a car.
No, but that also meant you're
Tuned up. Yeah,
you're
meant
about to
get
get
beat up.
yeah,
Yeah.
so-
You're right. You're right.
you got tuned. He got tuned up.
That's it. That's how it was used.
He got tuned up. Ed, thank you so much for coming
This
on.
was so much fun.
This is awesome. Man, that was awesome.
He's so cool.
He's a legend.
Legend. And athlete in his heart, right? He might have had his career as an actor and all these hit shows and all this stuff,
Yeah.
but the way he was talking, and he was talking about football from the 60s like it was yesterday.
Like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
And then he proceeded to put me in a Brazilian jiu-jitsu move after the show.
I got footage of that.
I feel hopeless.
Did you actually feel when when he did the breathing?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to hurt Al Bundy. 4 touchdowns in 1966 in 1 game? No shot. Let's hit the old hotline. Remember, that number is 424-291-2290.
What's up, boys? Love the pod. My name is Ryan from Somerville, Mass. Just want to say, Jules, you made my life growing up super easy, and it was awesome growing up. Question I have is, who was the smelliest guy in the locker room after practice, games, meetings? Who was that guy who always just smelled like, man, that guy works hard? Thanks, boys. Love the pod.
That guy worked hard, so he smelt. Usually it was the big fat guys. They smelt. But the one who I used to have a fucking problem with Amendola. He would, because Danny never wore socks, and he'd wear new shoes all the time. But sometimes he'd wear a pair of shoes 3 or 4 times. We'd be in a meeting, and he'd have his feet on. I'm like, yo, bro, you don't have fucking socks on. I can smell your feet from here. Will you take those guys? Will you put some socks on? You're not that cool.
What was the candle budget at the wide receiver room?
We didn't even you couldn't have anything burning in, I think. There's no burning of anything.
So you think Amendola was your answer to this?
He had some smelly little feet.
Because I've heard, and granted, I was never in the building, I was never in the room. It's only secondary sources, but I have some sources that say it was you.
I don't smell. I don't smell. I may have had a messy locker room here and there.
And
Or a
and
locker.
the Kent State jersey shirts that you wear every day.
Yeah, but I took that right off and I was in the shower immediately.
Okay.
I didn't smell, and I had good fragrances. I used to steal Tom's perfume.
Perfumes.
What's up, Jules? Just wanted to call and ask, what is your favorite story of a vacation with some of your teammates on the Patriots?
Favorite story of vacation. I remember when me, Danny, and Tom went to Montana for a 4th of July to train. We had like 3 days of hard training. Tom left, and me and Danny stayed an extra day. And like, there's so many activities with Tom. Like, everything is scheduled out. You got 2 hours for this, an hour for that. Or we have dinner at this time. We have to go do this at that time. When he left, we literally just took 2 quads and just went up the mountain. And we were doing like donuts. And then all of a sudden I rolled one of the quads, fully broken, left it at the person's house we're staying at, didn't say a word, just got in the car and left.
How does the invite for that go? Is that a text or is that like a tap on the shoulder from someone else? How does
No,
that
that's
go
what
down?
Tom would text me.
Tom text.
Tom texts.
Yeah. Dola too.
Yeah.
Cool. It's funny that you mentioned that story because years ago, we did a trip to Israel and you left a day early. And after you were gone, it was the best day of the whole trip. All right, last one.
Hey guys, how's it going? My question is for Julian. Julian, I know that when you were playing football, you had a pretty strict diet about what you would eat. You were very health conscious and all that. I'm curious if there was anything that you ate during that time that you hated so much that you have no interest in taking a bite of it again. Thanks, bye.
I used to eat alligator because it has like these rich omegas, and it's also got like more protein than a fish. And I remember eating that, and I was like, I'm trying to like trick myself the first time I eat it, like, oh, it kind of tastes like chicken. It's good. Then after eating it for like 8 weeks straight on every Tuesday, I'm like, I don't know if I can eat this anymore. It doesn't taste like chicken. It's kind of fishy. So alligator or alligator.
Alligator.
Cut that.
That's a great answer.
What a game. Thanks again to Ed. Make sure you watch FX's Clipped. It airs on Tuesday exclusively on Hulu. That's been another episode of Games with Names. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Comment a game you want us to do.
And remember to rate and review.
That didn't sound right.
I'll never be Jack.
Huh?
I'll never be Jack. He's one of one.
Remember to follow Games with Names on YouTube, Instagram, X, TikTok, and Snapchat. Leave a message on the hotline at 424-291-2290. See you guys next week. Games with Names is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.